What do you think was one or two things globally that happened that made people want to dive into this lifestyle?
I would say Yellowstone effect was definitely a real thing. And we're going to see a wave of Americana. I think that's going to continue to be a big lift here.
It's not just go on and try boots, it's an experience.
They're like, okay, this is not just a marketing story. I didn't really think much of it, to be honest. I said, sure. I figured if I'm going to fail, I'll fail fast and I'll go back to the practice of law. Okay, a Tecovas product not yet to be announced. So, all right, here you go.
Hey y'all, it's Pat. Welcome to another episode of Like a Farmer. Today, I can't even tell you how excited I am. I'm in Austin, Texas with one of the new sponsors of the show, their CEO, David Lafitte. Before I get into it, though, keep in mind, every single Wednesday we have a new episode coming out. Check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast. Let's get into it. Mr. David, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Delighted to have you in our office as well.
That might be one of the best parts about the day is we are actually in HQ in Austin. And how many actual retail stores are in Austin?
In Austin, we have two.
Okay. And then in Texas, you have?
We have about 15 or so. We have 42 throughout the U.S.
Okay, gotcha.
So we just opened our 12th store this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I mean, I can't wait to dive into that. And first, I'm going to go back a little bit because I just think it's a very trendy topic right now. Where you went to school, you went to University of Colorado.
I did.
You want to talk about a little bit of football real quick? How do you because I'll be honest with you, primetime Deion Sanders put them on the map to the people that were not familiar with that school or even that area. How did that go, in your mind, when you found out that Coach Deion was going to be your coach of the football team?
It was a bold move. You have to keep in mind, I went there back in 1982 to 1986. That was Bill McCartney's first year in 1982. They went 0-11. I was at my first college game, and they were playing UCLA, and all of a sudden there's a cup fight in the stands. The bottom folks throwing cups, and to the point where the UCLA linemen are kind of looking up in the stands, watching the fans do a cup fight. That's how important football was at that time. The year I left, McCartney took them to a bowl game, the Freedom Bowl in Anaheim, California, and then fast forward 2 years or 3 years, they won the national championship. So they split it with the Washington Huskies that year, 1990, I believe it was.
They split the national championship?
Yeah. They had a phenomenal team. And then, so there was then a dry spell. But it was a bold move bringing Deion in, and it's definitely reinvigorated sales and everything else. So it's been fun to watch.
I think it's so cool, him coming in. And it goes back to, we always talk about, no matter what the industry is, the brand. And he brings a specific brand to the college football programs, and it does multiple things. Obviously, on the field, how he runs his program is hard work, blue-collar work ethic 24/7, and it shows with his players.
Yeah, showing up on time,
going to school first, being a good man off the field first, which I love. But it also brings butts into the seats. And you saw ticket sales are going up, national TV spots. Colorado, you can actually watch on TV again. It's kind of cool to see.
Absolutely. It's great to see. Good for the sport.
Totally agree.
And the university.
And that just directly leads into why we came out here to Austin today, is because when you think about Tecovas and the brand that you are creating, it goes so well and aligns with Like a Farmer and the viewership and the people that we're trying to attract, but also that we're trying to celebrate. And we call it the rural America lifestyle. Where, and I know, we're going to talk about kind of when you came into Tecovas, but you've been here for how long?
It's about a little over 2 years now.
Okay, 2 years now.
2.5.
And y'all have attacked a certain lifestyle of rural America and people that need to wear boots, but also people that want to wear boots.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's right. I think, the company started, we'll have our 10th anniversary next year. We just celebrated our 9th birthday. Paul Hedrick, the founder, was a true boot enthusiast. He was in New York City working and wearing cowboy boots to the office and wanting to show off his Texas heritage. At the time, back in 2015, you had a couple of brands out there that were a little bit scalable. One kind of going more after the value consumer, the other more of a luxury subset. So there was no brand kind of really serving a premium market and a little more accessible price point. And then if you look at the distribution, it was very fragmented. You had Boot Barn starting to become bigger and bigger and scaling, but you had thousands of independent mom and pop stores who we love, and then you didn't have much of an online presence. So Paul thought there was a gap in the market of a brand that could be more of a medium premium kind of position, and then a distribution model that was sort of innovative, but was also happening at the time with a lot of these digitally native companies. So away we went. I think the one thing he did very smartly was to kind of move pretty quickly into retail, brick and mortar. A brand like Tecovas, you really want to get people in your store in a sit and fit environment, because we believe one of the secret sauce of our product is the out-of-the-box comfort. And you need people in a physical retail presence to really try that on and see it. It's also a dead fit, so when you're buying things online, you can't adjust it with shoelaces, so a lot of times you're going to get high returns just because there's no give on it. It either fits or it doesn't.
Correct. And it's very important to go into the store because it's not just go on and try boots. It's an experience when you walk into a Tecovas store.
And we're very proud of that and trying to innovate on that experience. But I think to your initial sort of point and question, yeah, the rural consumer is a very important staple of this business. This is not somebody who, this is now cool and trending these days. These are people that wear the boots. It is their lifestyle, both for functional purposes, but also, as we call it, boots and suits. So when they're not on the ranch or working construction or doing whatever they do, a lot of times they may be in their Tecovas going to dinner or to the bar that night. So that's a big part of the business, but it's a very important consumer for us because we need to make sure that we have this authenticity to us. And while we want to go and expand the brand and expand Western, we also need to make sure we're growing the roots of people that live and breathe this every day.
Totally agree. What do you think was one or two things globally that happened that made people want to dive into this lifestyle? And when I ask that is because my two things that always come to mind and why we came up with the show Like a Farmer is 2020 COVID, right? People want to get out of the city more, get outdoors, learn how to hunt, fish, do whatever, but they wanted to get out of the house. And then really, to be honest with you, Yellowstone. I mean, the Yellowstone TV show comes out and everybody was like, damn, that's actually really cool. They're driving pickup trucks, they're listening to country music, they're wearing cowboy hats, boots. We saw kind of an uptick of that lifestyle really coming to light, which is something that we wanted to attack. I mean, was there one or two things that maybe...
I think you've hit on it. I would say Yellowstone effect was definitely a real thing. You look at country music, it's the fastest growing genre by far. I think last year streams were up 24% year over year. You're seeing country music stars, Zach Bryan, Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, now not just on country music charts, but Billboard. And the other interesting thing about that is I think it's like 54, I don't know the specific number, but roughly 54% of the population listens to country music, which is just as much as pop or hip hop. And even in non-traditional Western markets, places like California, New York, that percentage holds even in those kind of markets. So I think country music is a big one. I don't see country music going away anytime soon. The other you touched on as well, I think the U.S. Census data just showed 15 of the fastest growing cities are all in the South, 8 of which are in Texas. So you've also got a migration not only to rural areas, to your point during COVID, but I think people just seeking a simpler way of life and a more cost-effective way of life. And then I guess I also hope and believe that it's also the values that are represented. I think people want to get back to integrity, hardworking, authentic, hospitality. These are values that I think sort of no one can argue with. Even in this political world and this election we just had, whether you're on the left or the right, it's hard to argue with those values that I think resonate with a lot of people. So I think it's a combination of things. And then lastly, I would say, the cowboy boot, and you look at a lot of fashion that's now kind of coming into this world as well. A lot of times people worry about, does that mean it's a bubble and this thing's about to burst? I don't think so. I think some of these underlying themes, Yellowstone has been a while now. I think some of this will definitely stick, but the cowboy boot is one of the most iconic American fashion thing that people around the globe recognize a cowboy boot as being truly American. And so I think that with the values I just mentioned, we're going to see a wave of Americana that people will, again, start to be proud of the country, and I think that's going to continue to be a big lift here.
God, I love that, man. I just locked in there. And they can't see it. David has a badass Tecovas boot on right now. Look at that. Boom, right here.
That's Cafe Goat.
Cafe Goat?
Yeah.
But what you might not know out there, it's not just boots, because, bam, check these things out. First day wearing them, they're
It's called the Monterey.
The Monterey, and I'm calling it a loafer. Is that
It is
correct?
a loafer. It's a slip-on loafer.
So when you go in and you want boots, and the times that you don't want to wear boots, boom, the loafer. I really do like these.
Yeah, and we think it's a big seller for us, and we think it shows permission that we have to kind of move into a little bit of Western adjacent. There are times when you're not going to be wearing your boots, and so what's a comfortable shoe, whether it's a slipper or a loafer? And then in some of the markets that we're trying to get into, we just opened a store outside of Boston, outside of Philadelphia. If somebody's not yet ready for putting boots on, this is a good entry point to the brand. And being known for sort of craftsmanship and quality and materials, and having that connotation resonates with slip-ons and other types of product as well.
When you talk about that and just hey, it doesn't have to be a boot, but we just, no matter what you put on, we want it to be just unbelievable, great feeling, and just a badass product. I'm looking around the hats, the bags, like how do you go about thinking of, okay, well, we need to create this product? Because it's more than just boots at Tecovas. Like what does that process look like of we need to get into bags now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we want to make sure, first of all, that we try and use a lot of consumer insights and people that love our boots, what else in their lives would Tecovas be a good fit for? We want to be careful about things like all of a sudden we're going to make a boat shoe. If someone wants a boat shoe, they're going to go to Sperry, or if they want some other type of product, they're going to go to some iconic brand that probably is known for that. So we want to pick and choose on where we think it makes sense for us to go that still has our DNA and doesn't look like we're just throwing stuff against the wall. The other thing is it's important when you are in a retail environment that you do have a kind of a head-to-toe capability. So we believe that we're going to need to be and want to be a lifestyle brand, meaning apparel, accessories. But bags, we'll try and choose bags that, again, are based upon quality, premium materials and, things that are going to last a long time. So a lot of the bags you'll see are similar to our boot products. We choose materials from tanneries that are very luxurious and high-end, but can stand up and are durable. So it's a similar kind of DNA we kind of put through all of the product development.
So I'm glad you hit on the top to bottom, because I have the pants on right now,
Yeah.
the jeans, you got the jeans on. You go in one of those stores, you can get fitted from the top to the bottom. And when you think about, you mentioned a little bit earlier, Boston, Philly, we were talking before we got on the mic of you probably could do some sort of census in the state of Florida where I'm from and say what area is ordering the most boots via online, and I would probably venture to say like even a Miami because of the fashion. Like, what's y'all's process when it comes to, hey, we need to start a
Great
store
question. That would be number one, is where are our e-com consumers and where do we see we're getting a lot of pull from? And then we'll look at population. We need traffic. You need to be in centers that drive a lot of traffic. So we're opening Miami next year.
Oh, nice.
We just did Tampa, as you know.
Yeah, Tampa Tecovas. I love
this
that.
year. We're in Jacksonville, Florida as well. We think Florida is a huge market and opportunity. We think California as well. We just opened our third store in California. We've got San Diego, Rancho Cucamonga, and San Juan Capistrano in Orange County. Very equestrian. there's a big ranch life in California, and
Number one
yeah,
ag
absolutely,
state in the country
for sure.
that a lot of people don't even understand.
Yeah, so we think there's big opportunity, frankly, in the Midwest as well. Now, a lot of these we're also going to be looking and choosing some. We just got into wholesale recently. I mentioned how we love the independents, the mom and pop stores that have been around for a long time. They know this business, they know their consumer. I think that's an important distribution channel for us.
And that just started.
That just started
And
this
what you
fall.
mean by that, like if I had Pat's Place and I sold boots, I can get
Tecovas
boots.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's been very well received, and it's also been, you learn a lot from that. So I'll read from time to time out in the channels or whatever that Tecovas is just a marketing company. It's not a quality boot. Now that we're in these wholesale doors, and you're up on the shelf competing with other brands, I think even the store owners are amazed at the product. The out-of-the-box comfort I mentioned, the quality. They're like, okay, this is not just a marketing story. We have really beefed up our team on people that really understand shoe and boot construction. That we've got a big team in León, Mexico that know materials. I hired a chief supply chain officer that grew up in a tannery in Brazil. This guy knows materials like nobody. So we put a lot of time and attention into our product. As you start to grow and move into new factories, there are growing pains because you haven't been with that factory yet. So while we don't own our factories, we kind of treat them like they're part of the Tecovas family. We learn from them, and they learn from us on ways that we could improve the quality of the product or the process that we're going through. So yeah, we're extremely proud of the product, though, for sure.
No kidding. I've read somewhere it's like a 200-step process for the boot?
Yeah, it's very much still a kind of a handmade product that's done very similar to the way it's always been. But you have to make sure that the people are trained well, and so we have our own quality team that we employ that are in the factories, kind of checking to make sure it's in accordance with our specifications, and because it's not just it's in the same factory, it must be the same boot. There's a world of difference in what goes into our operating procedures compared to another brand. Mm-hmm. Very different, including the components you're choosing, the materials that you're choosing, and the reasons you're choosing them. So all that goes into the product.
Who right now, when you think about what you are doing, are the top 3 to 5 players in the game?
Well, clearly, Ariat and Lucchese are again, two separate sort of, one a little more luxury, Ariat mid-level as well as kind of value, but two great companies. And then there are just a lot of really terrific boot brands out there. So and while I referenced in 2015 when Tecovas started, the market was really very different than it is now. And we are seeing, and to be expected, a lot of competition that has come in, new players, existing fashion brands that are now getting more into Western, as we talked about, and then Ariat and Lucchese and others upping their game as well. So which is fun. I mean, that it makes everybody perform better and make sure you're putting out quality product, and I think it's good for the industry. My view is that this is a rising tide floating all boats. I like to see Boot Barn performing well, not only on the stock market, but just in general. I think that's healthy for the industry.
I love that. And you have a good resume yourself coming into Tecovas to really lead the charge. Hey, y'all, it's Pat with Like a Farmer. Are you looking to add some local flavors to your recipes? Well, visit freshfromflorida.com today, where you can browse hundreds of delicious recipes that bring Florida freshness to your table all year round. Become a Fresh from Florida member for free and create your own menus. Save and send your favorite dishes and get exclusive access to monthly newsletters packed with fresh local recipes. I can promise you will be a favorite in your neighborhood. From the Florida fields to your fork, year-round freshness and flavor are just a logo away. Fresh from Florida, there's a sunshine in every bite. Today's episode is brought to you by Ag America, your go-to financial partner for all things agriculture. As the largest independent financial firm dedicated to rural America, Ag America is changing the game when it comes to ag lending and leveling up finance options for farmers, ranchers, and landowners across the nation. And I'll let you know the secret. The thing that sets this company apart from the rest is the people. They understand firsthand the unique needs of American farmers and ranchers because many of them grew up on farms themselves. They take a farmer-focused approach to finance, prioritizing relationships over transactions to help you build a stronger financial foundation for you and your family. So whether you're looking to buy land or secure working capital, Ag America has your back. Visit agamerica.com today to learn more and see how they can help you achieve long-term financial success. Because when farmers thrive, we all do. I want to play a game. I play a game on the show, okay?
All right.
This game is called Give 'em the Boot, presented by Tecovas. Who else would you want the game presented by than Tecovas? Give 'em the boot, okay? This is what we're going to do. I have a boot over here. I'm just going to pick a random boot. And which one is this?
That's
this is
one of our.
Chelsea
That's our new rugged Chelsea. I was just wearing that yesterday, which is a terrific product. Part of our new rugged collection
Yes.
that we can get into.
Yeah,
in a
we're
little
going to
bit
talk
as well.
about that. That's awesome. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 questions in here. And you have to answer all of them, but there could be one that you don't want to answer, and you can give that one the boot.
Okay.
But then that means if you give the first one the boot,
Yeah.
you got to
You're
answer
in.
the rest of them, okay? So go ahead, pick the first one.
Biggest mistake of your career?
Ooh, I like that one. You can give it
Well,
the boot if you like.
No, I like this
This
one.
could be a teaching
Yeah.
moment, though.
I think mistakes are important to make, frankly, and because you learn from them. I think that I would say the biggest mistake over my career that I've learned is I'm a big believer in the team and getting the right people on the bus on the right seats, in the right seats. One mistake I would say is I wasn't very good at coaching people up or out enough. And if something's not going to work out, I think it's important to make a decision. If you made a wrong hire, you've got to correct that by moving the person out. And I don't mean that in a cutthroat way. A lot of times the fit isn't just right, whether it's culturally or what your team may need for the given stage of where you are in the company. But to keep C players on board too long really can create major problems. You'll lose your A players, and the team just starts to not be cohesive. So I would say waiting too long, and that's the terrible part of this job, frankly, is because you don't want to have to do that and let people go. But I would say waiting too long on people aren't going to get where you need them to be would be one. I think the other thing that I learned later in life, and I've told my children this, is you don't need to know and you can't know everything. So don't worry about being vulnerable and sort of raising your hand if like I'm just struggling, I can't solve a problem, or I don't know how to go about it. No one's going to fault you for that. Or if you're in a boardroom as a practicing lawyer that I used to be sitting in a lot of boardrooms, I may not have the answer off the top of my head, and that's okay. Just what, I'll follow up. Let me get you an answer. You don't want to fake your way through it. Those types of things. So I think those would be the 2 biggest mistakes, but again, learnings and then growing from those as well.
100%. Man, that first one was really good too. And because coming from somebody that's now running a company that really believes and is ingrained on their brand meaning culture.
Yeah.
If you have some of those C players, that immediately kind of affects your culture too.
It's hard, yeah, for sure.
That's great. Next one.
Personal favorite Tecovas boot. So I have a lot, and I rotate a lot. I would probably say the Dean, which is our zip. For me, traveling quite a bit, even with pre-check, if you get sort of randomly selected and you don't have a boot jack, that zip is really nice to get it on and off. So I like the ingress and egress of the zip boot. And it's also a little, becoming a little more stylish too. So I would say the Dean.
Because sometimes I love the Dean too, but sometimes like, why do you have a zipper on your boot? Well, now there's a reason. Well,
Yeah.
this is why I have a zipper,
Yeah.
because this is my traveling boot.
And then I look at materials a lot. Like I love this Cafe Goat with the patina and the softness. I like a lot of our Cayman boots as well. So I'm a big fan of a lot of them.
I mean, I don't blame you. Here we go.
Okay, a Tecovas product not yet to be announced. So, all right, here you go. So what we're excited about is I just mentioned the Rugged collection, but in early December we're going to be launching Work product, and I'm really excited about that. We get a lot of searches on our site looking for steel toe or composite toe, and we think, again, I get back to the DNA, but the approach we've taken with our lifestyle type products we'll take with the Work product, meaning we want out-of-the-box comfort, we want premium materials, we want it to be kind of a Texas take on hard work and good fun, and I think we're going to come out with some very cool product, and we'll keep innovating on it as well, on performance, underfoot comfort, things of that nature. But so we're excited about that.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. So it's called the Work.
It'll be Tecovas Work.
Yeah.
We had thought about doing it under a separate brand, and I just decided, it's a little bit easier to draft off of the Tecovas awareness that we have going and be a little more capital efficient than trying to get another brand name out there with awareness.
That makes a ton of sense. Do you think there's a day where there's maybe like a Tecovas farmer, like the farmer?
Sure. Okay. I love your idea. Let's explore that a little bit.
Okay, let's keep talking. All right, I really don't want you to boot this one, and you don't have to boot any of them, so go ahead, last one.
I'll try not to boot any of them. That seems like a favorite country musician.
And again, it could be of all time. Doesn't even have to be right now.
Luke Combs, Zach Top, Ryan Bingham, Sierra Farrell. So I listen to a lot of different stuff. George Strait.
Yeah, obviously.
I just went to the taping at Austin City Limits of Chris Stapleton, which was just unbelievable.
He is.
So I like a lot of different folks.
This is why I love this game.
I'm kind of dodging making me name one, but anyway, that's a
no. That makes sense. I mean, and you, like I said, give them the boot. Presented by Tecovas. You don't always have to give them the boot,
All right.
As a CEO, when your employees watch this, they're going to be happy that you didn't give anybody the boot.
Exactly. They may not be happy about my other mistake about moving people. No, they understand all that. And again, just to clarify that, I'm also a big believer in developing people. And this is what I mean about trial and error. We want people to feel they're empowered to go get things done. If they make a mistake, we're not going to put them in a position where the floor is going to fall out from under them. So we know the big risks that are out there. I want people to feel like they're empowered and don't have to look over their shoulder and ask, is this okay to go do something? That will slow us down tremendously. So it's okay for people to make mistakes and learn, and we need to make sure we're developing our talent as well. So when I say about that mistake, it's not a cutthroat sort of mentality that I have. It's just knowing that when you've done all that, you either need to coach them up or out. And it just can't be that you're letting people stagnate in a situation where it's not good for them and it's not good for Tecovas either.
I want to talk about you because you have a great resume. I mean, you started you didn't just go to law school. I mean, you were practicing lawyer.
Yeah. No, I practiced law for 25 years. I was a corporate and securities lawyer, doing a lot of venture capital.
And this was in California?
In California. Okay. So most of my professional...
From New Orleans.
Yeah, from New Orleans. Yep. I went to CU, as we talked about.
Yep.
Went to California for a couple of years. I met my wife in Boulder. She was from Pasadena, California. And I told her, I think I want to go back to law school, and I was going to go to Tulane. And we weren't engaged at the time, and I said, but you should come with me. And so she went to New Orleans with me, and we ended up getting married my second year in law school, between my second and third year. But she moved there on the condition, okay, when you finish, we're going back out to California, which we did. So I practiced for, as I said, 25 years. I was serving as outside general counsel for one of my clients, which was Decker's Brands, which is the parent of UGG and Hoka. Mm-hmm. Did that for a couple of years, and then the then chairman and CEO came to me and said, hey, I think we've been looking for a chief operating officer for a year. I think you should take that position. I was like, well, that sounds good. I don't know anything about operations or footwear, but other than that, it sounds like a perfect fit. But nevertheless, shed all my clients and resigned. I was kind of co-managing partner in my law firm as well. So it was a big move. I had 3 kids in college at the time. So kind of a risky move, but I figured if I'm going to fail, I'll fail fast and I'll go back to the practice of law. So anyway, long story short, I did that for 8 years, and then made the decision to move to Austin for Tecovas 2.5 years ago.
Lawyer, COO at Decker Brand.
Yeah.
So you're starting to get into this fashion. I'm going to call it. Or what would you call apparel?
Yeah, footwear. We're footwear,
whatever.
both, but kind of like here, lifestyle, but sort of footwear led, I would say.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then so Tecovas calls you, and you knew the brand. Paul's done a very good job leading up to that point.
Right.
It's this Western lifestyle, rural American brand. Like, do you just sit back and have to kind of think about that, or are you like, hell yeah, I'm in? Like, what attracted you to Tecovas?
Well, I had gotten to know Paul a few years before that came up. We had at Deckers, we had a common board member, and we actually we were looking at this digitally native company. This was probably in 2017, 2018. So at the time they were only 3 years old, but they were doing some pretty novel things in performance marketing that we thought a more mature company could learn from as well. So we actually brought our management team here to Austin and met with Paul and the team just as a get to know you type thing. And so Paul and I stayed in touch probably twice a year after that. And then one of our catch-up calls, he said, hey, I'm thinking I may want to do a search. Are you interested? And I didn't really think much of it, to be honest. I said, sure. And I didn't hear anything for a few months, and then got a call from a headhunter that was then starting the process. So, the more I learned about the company and what Paul's vision was and the opportunity, it was compelling. I think I never had necessarily an aspiration to be a CEO just for the sake of that. I was enjoying my career at Deckers and learning a lot still, and things were going well. But at the same time, it was kind of an intriguing opportunity to come spearhead this, and so it's been fun. It's a really fun brand, as we've been talking about in this lifestyle, and I think a big opportunity in front of us.
You've done a great job.
Consistency.
Consistency is one thing that you have really locked in on, and this is just me up there being opinionated because obviously being here is unbelievable, but I've been to maybe only 6 or 8 stores, but consistency.
Yeah.
You walk in, somebody immediately comes to you, takes care of, hey, do you want anything? You want some drink? What are you looking for? I mean, it's an experience when you walk in and you have made sure it's consistent across the board, and I just think that's unbelievable.
Yeah, that retail experience is incredibly important for us. We are, the theme is radical hospitality, and we want people coming in. It can be a little intimidating to walk into a store where you've got a wall of boots, and if you don't know and haven't, like your followers, it's not their lifestyle yet, and they're just trying to. It's not real approachable, and it can be overwhelming, and so we've wanted to make sure we're very approachable, fun. We've got a bar in every store except one. So we're liquor licensed, not to sell, but for complimentary beverages.
Why don't you have the one in that?
In Salt Lake City. It's a little harder to get licensed.
Yeah.
And then what's also been fun is customization. So we've got, branding bars, and so people can, and have gotten very elaborate on what people can do to customize their boots.
That's cool.
Including embroidery on hats and apparel even. So we're wanting to kind of make sure we continue to innovate on the retail experience. And then part of that's not just the idea about something, but it's how do you scale it in a way that's efficient and not just a huge money, pit, that you're putting money into. So scaling those services are important. And then the training that we do with our associates, we spend a lot of time and effort on that. And I think that's why they know our products very well. They know our brand very well. And I get texts and emails all the time. I was in the store, John took care of me. He was unbelievable, very knowledgeable about the product, et cetera. So, and then we're kind of using that knowledge and that training and we formed what we call a trailblazer group that's helping us in our wholesale launch as well. So we'll have that team go around and meet with our wholesale partners, train them about the Tecovas product and the brand, and that's been a huge help as well.
And it goes back to what you said, and you had to go back and clarify, because you have these processes in place that, like, hey, we have training out the yazoo, and when you can come in and you might not even know how to spell boot, but like you're going through this process and you are becoming a brand ambassador, obviously, internally for Tecovas, which is super cool.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of enthusiasts out there that we can also, look to work in communities as we're continue to grow and do events and things like that.
Yeah, and I want to get into that too on kind of like the what's next. We've talked about, the work boot. David and I are going to talk about the farmer boot, which might come out soon.
Absolutely.
But on the what's next, like when it comes to the brand, Austin Gamblers, fantastic.
Yeah.
Shout out Zeke. We were talking about you before we sat down. Great young man.
Yeah, absolutely. Show. He's terrific.
So you've done some sponsoring with the Gamblers, with the PBR. What brand ambassadors, whether it's Thomas, Rhett, or those types of people, like what's next in that? Well, are you a big believer in that, like those influencer marketing? Because I love that.
I am, provided it's authentic.
Yep.
I think that, we want to kind of be, I used to call it, we want to be the Nick Saban of recruiting. We want to know who the 5-star athletes are coming up, and who are the people that Luke Combs wants to listen to on a Wednesday night. Sort of those cool, authentic people that are all over this country, playing incredible music. So I think we definitely want, we want them to love the brand. We don't want them just they're looking for a check and therefore, that's just transactional. I think people see through that. I think we need to start looking a little bit more at some collaborations that I think would be interesting. I think those can be overdone, but I think if they're done well and with a specific goal and purpose in mind, they can be very effective, whether you're trying to get into a product category or whether it's outerwear or something that you're not yet known for. We did some dresses with Chris Brock, who's a designer in California, and we wrote a kind of kick-off dresses by using a very established designer. That was an interesting one, I think. So anyway, we'll look to do more both product brand collaborations as well as ambassadors, and just want to make sure they're authentic.
Yeah, I love the product. I'll be honest with you, David, what we have done so far in this short time with Like a Farmer and Tecovas, like I'm so thankful for y'all.
Well, I love what you're doing as well, which is why we did want to sponsor it. These are, again, our target consumers that we think are incredibly important to this brand. We don't want to be known as a concrete cowboy. We want to be the real deal. And so, like working with the Gamblers, what is it that these riders, these professional athletes, need in a product? And so, we want to learn from, whether it's in the work boot area, these folks are on their feet all day long doing very tough work. What is it about your shoe that you need to make sure you're covered at work? It's obviously safety and comfort. You're on your feet for 12 hours a day. But then we also want to celebrate those workers as well, which is why I mentioned this Texas take on hard work and good fun. I think we want to make sure we're celebrating these people who are building our country, whether it's going to their favorite bar after work or diving in a river to rinse off and then going out at night, or, so we want to, I think, make sure we're kind of part of that culture as well, and celebrating the work that they do for us.
God, I love that. What's next for you? Like, you've been around the block.
How can you tell?
You talk about a resume, golly, but like, what's something you've been here for 2 years?
Yeah,
you've got a long road ahead.
We've got a lot of work to do in front of us. There's no question. But as I tell the team, it's all about the journey. That's what's fun. When you look back, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There'll be bumps in the road. But when you look back on your career, the most fun part is, that, wow, that was a tough time, but I persevered and look where we got. So, we try not to be complacent. There's always, we try and have a continuous improvement mindset, but we also need to step back and recognize the people and the successes that we've had. But we still have a lot of work to do. So I'm here for, this is not another 6 months. This is another many
the long
years.
haul
Yeah, for
here in
sure.
Austin,
And we
Texas.
want to, we want to do it right. We want to build a long-term sustainable brand that's going to be around for a long time.
And y'all just celebrated birthday
Number 9. So next year will be a big one, our 10th. So we'll look to ramp up the celebration a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be at that party.
Absolutely.
Great year.
We'll have you.
Why Austin, Texas, by the way?
Well, that's where Paul was living when he moved back from New York to start the brand here.
I mean, you've been around the block, David. Like, you see even these businesses, and like, why are
Austin
getting drawn to here? And it's awesome, right? It's a great city.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. It seems like even a lot of California, New York. I mean, Tesla,
I think,
right? I mean, Elon's here. Like, why? What's driving?
Well, I think Gavin Newsom probably won.
Yeah, there you go.
He's probably the best. He's probably the best realtor in Texas. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more business friendly, and once you start getting, it's a little bit of a cluster effect. Like the tech companies moving here, you start getting talent. UT's spinning off a lot of incredibly educated people. So anytime you've got a college town that with a city that can have a labor force that is engineers and things like that, and it starts to feed on itself. It's a very young city as well. My wife and I go out to dinner, and we're the oldest people here by 30 years, which is fun, but it's also that's why I keep telling my kids they should be the ones moving here. But it is a fun city. All of a sudden, a lot of great restaurants, and now I know that's not a lot of people. You don't want to change the culture of a city either, and I think Austin's done a pretty nice job of trying to keep keeping Austin weird, as they say. I grew up in New Orleans, and Austin reminds me a lot of New Orleans in many ways. It's not just the music, but it's sort of an eclectic city, a lot of different types of people. I was sitting the other day on South Congress, and you're just kind of looking around and people watching, and you could almost be in New York City or LA just on the types of people you're seeing mingle around on the street, and then yet you've got a lot of people wearing Western boots and pearl snap shirts, and so it's an interesting mix for sure, but it makes it fun.
God, I love that. That's awesome. I really, really admire what you're doing here. I love your company. Love the
Thank
people.
you. Appreciate it.
Everybody that I've met has been fantastic, and I mean what I say. I come from a multi-generational, hard-working farming family.
Yeah.
And for a long time, probably the last 9 years since Tecovas, it's like I've always wanted to be a part of a brand that not only has a great product, but also has a cool product. You're on both lanes, right? You have a great product that's not going to mess up on you, but it's cool. And the most important thing, it's affordable. And whether it's viewers from my show or people that are every single day feeding us, clothing us 24/7, them being able to afford a product that makes them look cool is important.
Yeah, I think so. We're looking to segment product even more, making sure we've got accessible products that are. We want to make sure the value proposition for whatever we put out there that it's sort of second to none as far as the quality of what you're getting for the price you're paying, and whether that's a mid-tier level boot or a work boot, or we want it to last. We want it to protect you if you're out there working. And then the other thing is this timeless style. I think that's an important part of it as well. Like in the work boot, we want to have something you can work in all day, hose it off, and go out to dinner at night. And a lot of the technology and underfoot comfort is more covert than overt. So it's not, flashy on technology and that. So it's more timeless style. It's more like Intel inside, if you will.
Dude, it's awesome. Real quick before we end, the Rugged just came out. Is that correct? So give me the rundown. These are all the Rugged?
So this is not. This is work. That's a steel toe.
Oh, this is the work that's coming out.
Composite toe, yeah.
So this
is Rugged here, a mock toe lace up. This is a Roper Rugged.
Of the Rugged.
Yeah.
And what was the What was the reason behind creating these?
Well, these are, I would say, they're not work because they don't have, it depends on the work you're doing,
Yeah.
obviously. But a boot that you can, utility boot,
woods,
wear
yeah.
out, exactly.
Yeah.
Whether you're driving a Jeep out there
Correct.
or walk in the fields, yeah. And a little bit better price point because I think some of our product, at price points, it's an investment, so you're not going to want to take those and go muck a stall, for example. But some of these others are at a price point where they're going to last, but also you don't feel too bad about beating them up.
And the ones that don't last, and this is going to be good for
Yeah.
everybody out there, what's the deal when it comes to, man, I love my Tecovas.
Yeah.
I'm not getting
Yeah,
rid
yeah.
of them. You have a place where they can send them,
We
right?
do. We work with a group called New Shoe that can. So most of our product, if not all, the Monterey is not, but is Goodyear welted. So you can resole all of our product, and we have a group, New Shoe, that we partner with that has all of our components, then can get that done. So that if you love your product in the upper, but your sole has worn out, it's a good way to restore it. And that's our sustainability story as well. These are products that aren't going to be ending up in a landfill anytime soon. And so they'll last a long time, and you can even recraft them and resole them.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on all the success.
Yeah, thank you,
Seriously.
Pat.
Happy
Enjoyed it.
9th birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
The 9th birthday boot, by the way, is awesome. So
Yeah,
go
it was
check
pretty,
that out.
yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I have another question real quick. When it comes to the birthday boots, like who designs that?
Well, Paul does a lot of that, actually.
Okay.
We want him.
Paul's still behind the scenes. I love that.
Oh, yeah. No, Paul loves this brand. I want him to be a part of it. He's but on product and especially things like limited editions and birthday boots, he's very involved. So, yeah.
As always, thank y'all for paying attention to this great episode with Mr. David Lafitte, the CEO of Tecovas, one of our new sponsors here at Like a Farmer. As always, continue to like, comment, subscribe, share. Do whatever you got to do to be like a farmer.